What's up, friends? It's Thor Diecast. Welcome back to another edition of This Week on Blu-ray and DVD. And we've got a doozy of a package to tell you about today, starting with one of the most acclaimed films of 2014, Selma. And it's an absolute travesty that David Oyelowo wasn't nominated for an Oscar, but he gives a mesmerizing performance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. leading the epic march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. Take a look.
It is unacceptable that they use their power to keep us voiceless. Those that have gone before us say no more.
People actually say they're gonna kill our children. They're trying to get inside of your head.
What happens when a man stands up, says enough?
Yeah, just an amazing cast and a riveting performance from Oyelowo. The rest of the cast includes Oprah Winfrey, Common, Tom Wilkinson, Cuba Gooding Jr., Giovanni Ribisi, and Tim Roth, who is positively devilish as Governor Wallace in the film. And it doesn't try to glorify a lot of the issues that were going on at the time. Basically, they led this epic march to secure equal voting rights in an event that forever altered history down in the States. And the headlines going on down there right now with the racial tension, this movie couldn't be more timely. And this year actually marks the 50th anniversary of that legendary march, named one of the best films of the year by the New York Times, New York Post, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, and The Hollywood Reporter. Don't miss this one, and the Blu-ray is jam-packed with great bonus features. See it for the acting alone. I tell you, the ensemble cast and the performances are all very powerful. And as I say, it never exaggerated it too much. And I like that they didn't take the standard biopic approach and try to tell Martin Luther King Jr.'s long and storied career. They really just focused on a couple of weeks in his life in a pivotal moment when they were trying to secure equal voting rights for the black public down there. A very timely movie, Selma. Don't miss that one. One of the best of last year. Next, we're talking, speaking of Oscars, Still Alice. And you want to watch the movie that secured her an Oscar at last year's Academy Awards. She stars as Julianne Moore, we're talking, stars as a linguistics professor who gets a terrible diagnosis when she realizes she has early onset Alzheimer's. Take a look.
I can see the words hanging in front of me and I can't reach them and I don't know who I am and I don't know what I'm going to lose next. Stethoscope, Millennium, Hedgehog. I'd like to see you go to college.
Yeah, this movie is just so sad, so make sure you're ready for something grim because, you know, it does not have a happy ending. But the journey she takes and the acting is just stunning and phenomenal. And Julianne Moore, probably never better. And the cast is great as well. Alec Baldwin plays her husband, Kristen Stewart, who really turned it around for me in this movie. Kate Bosworth, Hunter Parrish. They're all wonderful. And so basically, Julianne Moore is this professor, you know, who's mastered language in her career. It makes it all the more devastating that she slowly loses the grasp of her mind and cognitive thinking and the ability to speak clearly. She tries to stay connected with the world around her, and it's even more devastating when she starts to realize that her condition is so rare, but she could actually be passing it on to her children. Fascinating look at a devastating disease, and the bonus features include 3 in-depth featurettes, including a side story about co-director Richard Glatzer, who battled ALS while they were filming the movie. He recently just died, so one of the featurettes looks at his battle with this, along with his partner, Wash Westmoreland. But Still Alice at times does play out a little bit like a Lifetime movie. Didn't have the strongest script, but the performance by Julianne Moore alone is worth seeing. And we're talking about everything that goes on with Alzheimer's, and who among us doesn't know someone affected with a disease like that. So check that one out as well. All right, now we're going to switch gears completely and talk about one of the biggest disappointments of the year, I think, based on the worldwide best-selling publishing phenomenon, 50 Shades of Grey. Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson tried to sizzle up the screen, but the results were just embarrassing. Take a look.
So, what was he like?
Mr. Gray will see you now. He was really smart, very intense. To what do you owe your success?
I've always been good at people. I have a natural instinct for what makes a person tick. Anastasia?
Christian.
Was so stupid. I understand the appeal, sure. You know, it's an erotic novel, 3 of them actually, worldwide success, but the chemistry between these two was non-existent. Jamie Dornan really struggling to hide his accent. Dakota Johnson, she was kind of quirky, you know, in the role, but they didn't really sizzle it up or spice things up to me. So the sex scenes were also very tame and safe. It was barely an R rating, so it didn't have the raunchiness, I think, and the real provocative nature that everyone wanted. Vancouver looks very good doubling as Seattle, and the first half of the film actually does work. It is very funny, but at the end of the day, the plot really doesn't go anywhere. It's all inconsequential, and the stuff that everybody wanted to see, the juicy sex scenes, just don't live up to the hype. Don't worry though, there'll be another one coming in a couple of years, so hopefully they can redeem themselves. But 50 Shades of Grey, huge disappointment for me. Walked out of this one thinking that was not sexy at all. There you have it, the Red Room of Pain.
Why are you trying to change
Just avoid that one. All right, we're going to talk about an excellent film now from director Mike Leigh, Mr. Turner. And this is the story of one of Britain's famed painters. And this is from Oscar nominee Timothy Spall, who you may remember from Harry Potter and a lot of British movies. He's usually a scene stealer, sort of off to the side. Here he is front and center as British painter J.M.W. Turner. And this movie was nominated for a slew of Academy Awards, including Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, Best Original Score, and Best Production Design. And look at the thing, it's absolutely gorgeous. Plus, Director of Photography Dick Pope, in a lot of the scenes, emulated Turner's own paintings, like that right there. So they actually tried to recreate his paintings and put them into real scenes in the movie. That is courtesy of Mike Leigh and Dick Pope working together in an amazing collaboration. And you see the costume, the details, capture the period so well, and Tim Spall gives an understated performance in this movie. Beautiful, gorgeous, outstanding, lavish, and the movie looks at the last 25 years of the most revered painter in Britain, Mr. Turner, a remarkable, rich portrait of his life, the complex and contradictory relationships of his family, fellow artists, and lovers, who were often as turbulent as the canvases he's painting. It is a long movie, I will say that, but if you like your British period pieces and some stunning acting, Mr. Turner is going to be the right one for you. Mike Leigh continues to crank out wonderful films in his long career. Look at that, just gorgeous, beautiful movie. Next, we're going to switch gears once again and talk about one of the worst films in recent memory, Mordecai. Johnny Depp striking out lately, and in this one, he plays a man who sort of had a run-in with Ewan McGregor. He's a shady art dealer, but Ewan McGregor is his old rival. He calls him up because a priceless piece of work has been stolen, and they want to bring Mordecai in to try and, find out who stole it. But he starts to question the intentions of his rival, takes the job for the money, and keeping his high-maintenance wife happy, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, that is always tricky. So he's got a manservant played by Paul Bettany. They're on the run from terrorists, Russians, and it sort of bills itself as a hilarious globe-trotting chase, but it's really not. There's no subtlety to the humor. It was very silly. The plot was quite convoluted, and Johnny Depp just, kind of trying to do these larger-than-life characters just didn't work for me, and stuff like that, the stupid gags. I was just tired of it by the end. So Mordecai, definitely not one to watch. You probably want to avoid that one. Yeah, he's laughing, but nobody else was. And finally, we'll finish things off with Masters of Sex, one of the best shows out there, starring the wonderful Michael Sheen and Lizzie Kaplan. Of course, season 2 is here. Masters and Johnson are back. Now, they've been kicked out of the maternity hospital, so they have to set up their own clinic so they can resume their work. And there was a lot of interesting stuff going on at the time in the 60s. The sexual revolution was being sown, and the simmering civil rights movement, speaking of Selma, was exploding around them. So the intimate relationship they started under the guise of their research unravels, and things get really tense at home with Michael Sheen and his wife. Her growing dissatisfaction is explored, and an unexpected return by his estranged brother. So get all 12 episodes now, Masters of Sex Season 2. You talk about chemistry, sexual chemistry, these two have it in spades, and basically everything in Masters of Sex is a lot more provocative and a lot steamier than anything in 50 Shades. So if you want something like that, and you're looking for some eroticism, check out Season 1, and they get Season 2 right now, out on Blu-ray and DVD. Michael Sheen, so good. There you go, people. That's it. I'm Thor Dykow. It's this week on Blu-ray and DVD once again. We'll see you next week. Don't forget, you can catch me on Twitter at Thor Dykow on breakfasttelevision.ca.